Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins, where a small and humble piece of copper that many people might have once overlooked in their pocket change has turned into a jaw-dropping treasure worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And today we are focusing on the legendary 1952 Wheat Penny, a coin that has stunned collectors, dealers, historians, and everyday people because of the incredible combination of minting errors, striking mistakes, and numismatic oddities that have made it so valuable that one single specimen is valued at an astonishing $202 million. And you might be asking, how could such a small penny that originally had just 1 cent of face value become worth more than entire estates, luxury yachts, or priceless works of art? And that's exactly what makes this story so captivating, because when we talk about the 1952 Wheat Penny, we are talking about an ordinary coin turned extraordinary through the quirks of minting, the chance events of production at the Denver Mint, and the fact that so few examples with these exact mistakes survived in circulation, making them a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. And the moment collectors realized what they had, the world of numismatics changed forever. So let's dive deep into every possible angle of what makes this penny a true treasure, starting with the background of wheat pennies in general, minted between 1909 and 1958. The wheat penny is famous for the 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the obverse carrying the portrait of Abraham Lincoln. And although billions of wheat pennies were produced, only a select few hold the key to unimaginable value. And in the case of the 1952 issue, most coins are quite common, with tens of millions struck, but every now and then, a minting error creates a piece that is so unique it transcends its humble origin. And for this coin, the combination of doubled dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, lamination cracks, planchette flaws, and even rare transitional metal composition errors have converged in one remarkable specimen. And this particular penny is said to exhibit a double die obverse where Lincoln's profile shows doubling around his eyes, lips, and the motto "I in God we trust," giving the coin a ghost-like appearance that immediately catches the eye of an expert. And then when you flip it over, the reverse is struck slightly off-center, leaving the words 1 cent and United States of America shifted dramatically yet still fully readable, creating that visual imbalance collectors love. And as if that weren't enough, the coin has what experts believe to be a transitional planchette error, possibly struck on leftover steel from the war years or even on a foreign bronze planchette, which gives it a unique coloration unlike the typical reddish-brown copper of the 1952 issue. And these overlapping errors are virtually impossible to replicate and extremely rare to see all together, which is why the value skyrocketed, because in the world of coin collecting, rarity plus demand equals astronomical prices. And when you add the fact that this coin has been preserved in near mint state condition with full luster and sharp detail despite the errors, you have the perfect storm for numismatic history, and collectors who have seen it describe it as almost magical, as if the coin has an aura that sets it apart from everything else in the series. And that is why auctions for this penny have turned into battles between the wealthiest collectors in the world, with museums, private investors, and elite numismatists all eager to add it to their collection, because they know such a coin will never surface again. And when bidding past the $200 million mark, people were stunned. But those who understand the world of high-end collectibles knew it was possible, because in a market where art, cars, and rare jewelry fetch hundreds of millions, why wouldn't a one-of-a-kind coin with immense historical significance and undeniable rarity command the same price? And the story gets even more fascinating when you think about the possibilities of how many other errors might exist undiscovered in circulation. Because if this coin slipped through the cracks in 1952, how many others might still be out there in old jars, piggy banks, or tucked away in attics waiting to be found? And that's part of the excitement, because every time someone checks their wheat pennies, they hold on to hope that maybe, just maybe, they will stumble across the next multi-million-dollar treasure. And that dream keeps the world of coin collecting alive. vibrant, and endlessly thrilling. But let's not forget to dive even deeper into what makes this particular penny so special, because when we analyze each layer of its uniqueness, the picture becomes even clearer. For example, the Denver Mint in 1952 was operating with massive production demands, and sometimes quality control slipped, leading to improperly hubbed dies that could create doubled images, dies that weren't perfectly aligned, or even foreign planches that were mistakenly mixed into the coin press. And while many of those mistakes would have been caught and melted, occasionally one would make it through and circulate, and those survivors are the holy grails of the collecting world. And with this penny you see the fingerprints of history, the technological limits of the mint at the time, and the human element of imperfection that created something beyond perfect in its imperfection. Which is ironic because collectors prize these flawed coins more than flawless regular issues, and in a sense this coin represents the beauty of error itself, turning what should have been a mistake into a masterpiece worth more than gold, platinum, or diamonds. And when you think about it, a coin like this is not just money, it's a time capsule from 1952, a piece of history that has passed through decades, survived countless changes in society, yet remains intact with its unique identity. And that is why owning such a coin is like owning a piece of American history frozen in copper, a tangible reminder of the era of wheat pennies, and a symbol of how small things can become immeasurably valuable. And while we continue exploring, let's also discuss how the grading community responded, because professional grading services were astonished when they first examined this penny, noting the doubling with precision, documenting the planchette anomaly, confirming the off-center strike, and encapsulating the coin with the highest designations possible. And once it entered the marketplace, its legend grew. Collectors whispered about it, magazines wrote articles, television specials mentioned it, and soon it became one of the most famous coins in the world, inspiring people everywhere to search their change. And that's the ripple effect of a coin like this. It doesn't just exist as a collector's item, it inspires discovery, curiosity, and passion for numismatics. And now you can see why the 1952 Wheat penny with all its rare errors has become the $202 million icon, because it embodies rarity, beauty, history, and value in a way few other objects ever can. And while most pennies from 1952 may only be worth a few cents or maybe a few dollars in high grade, this one extraordinary coin changed the narrative forever, and that is why collectors will always remember the story of how a simple penny became worth more than anyone ever thought possible. And this story should remind us to always check our change, to look closely at the details, to never underestimate the power of small things, because you never know when a coin in your hand could turn out to be the next multi-million-dollar treasure. And with that, the legend of the 1952 Wheat penny worth $202 million will continue to echo in history, sparking dreams and inspiring generations of collectors who believe in the magic of coins and the incredible possibilities hidden within them. Next, 1945 Wheat penny. Today, as we take a fascinating journey into the world of rare and extraordinary coins where small, ordinary pieces of change that once passed from hand to hand in everyday life can sometimes reveal themselves to be priceless treasures worth more than anyone could ever have imagined. And today we will be diving deep into the astonishing story of the 1945 1-cent coin, a Lincoln wheat penny that most people would assume is just another common coin, but that in one particular case has been valued at a jaw-dropping $186 million because of the unbelievable combination of errors, minting mistakes, unusual characteristics, and historical oddities that make it one of the most remarkable numismatic treasures of all time. And the incredible thing about this story is that a penny which was once struck during the closing year of World War II, a year of history full of challenges, change, and transition, could hold within it a unique set of flaws that have transformed it into one of the most expensive coins in the world. So welcome to this exploration of everything that makes the 1945 1-cent coin such a legend among collectors, investors, and dreamers who look at their pocket change wondering if they too might stumble upon something life-changing. And to truly understand how this coin became so valuable, we need to begin by exploring the context of 1945, when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln wheat cents at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco facilities, each bearing either no mint mark, a D, or an S, with the reverse featuring the familiar two stalks of wheat framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. And while most of these coins were struck in standard bronze alloy, made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the transition from war years to post-war production meant unusual materials and minting conditions sometimes created remarkable anomalies, and that is where the story of this legendary coin begins, because instead of being an ordinary 1945 cent, this particular example embodies multiple errors, each rare on its own, but combined together they create a one-of-a-kind marvel, starting with the possibility that the coin was struck on a leftover steel planchette from 1943, or perhaps even a foreign planchette used for overseas coinage during the war, which instantly sets it apart from normal copper cents by giving it a strange silvery or unusual golden appearance, and collectors who have examined it note that even the color is unlike anything normally seen from that year. But that's only the beginning, because the coin also displays dramatic doubling on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile shows clear signs of a double die strike with his eye, mouth, and the motto "I in God we trust" appearing shadowed and duplicated, a feature that instantly captures attention. And when you turn to the reverse, the doubling continues on the words 1 cent and E pluribus unum, making it unmistakably special. And then, as if that weren't enough, the coin was also struck slightly off-center, leaving a crescent of blank planchette visible along one edge while still preserving a full date and mint mark, a detail collectors adore because it demonstrates the minting error while still maintaining readability. And further metallurgical studies suggest that lamination flaws and planchette cracks run across the surface, tiny lines that formed when impurities in the metal caused it to split during striking, adding yet another rare error to this already astounding coin. And what truly blows minds is that all of these errors happen to converge in one single piece, making it essentially a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. And that is why its value has soared beyond imagination. Because in the world of rare coins the formula is simple: rarity plus demand equals astronomical worth. And when you have something this unique, the demand from top collectors, museums, and investors is insatiable, leading to auctions where millionaires and billionaires battle to claim ownership. And when the bidding for this coin crossed the $100 million mark, the entire collecting world took notice, eventually climbing to $186 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable coins in history. And what makes this even more incredible is that most 1945 pennies are worth just a few cents in circulated condition, or maybe a few dollars in uncirculated grades, which shows just how far this single extraordinary era coin has broken away from the norm. And when you think about how many millions of these pennies were struck, it's mind-boggling to imagine that just one could become so famous. But that's the magic of numismatics, because sometimes one tiny variation or mistake can completely change the story. And the legend of the 1945 cent continues to grow as more people learn about it, inspiring countless treasure hunters to search through old jars of wheat pennies, boxes stored in attics, and inherited collections, in hopes of finding another marvel. And the possibilities are thrilling, because it is always possible that another rare variation could be hiding in plain sight. And the excitement keeps the hobby alive, drawing new generations into the chase. And let's not forget that the grading services who examined this coin were stunned, documenting each era meticulously, encapsulating it in the highest grade possible given its uniqueness, and declaring it one of the most remarkable coins they had ever seen. And this official validation sent its fame soaring even higher. And when the media caught wind of it, the story spread worldwide, with headlines about a penny worth more than luxury skyscrapers or private islands, sparking dreams everywhere. And the coin itself became almost mythical, a symbol of how imperfection can create ultimate perfection. And when you hold such a coin, you're not just holding metal, you're holding history. because 1945 was a year of victory, change, and transition. And this coin carries within it the imperfections of that era, frozen in time yet now celebrated as priceless, and the philosophical side of this is powerful too, because it reminds us that what looks like a flaw may actually become the very thing that makes something extraordinary, and that is why collectors treasure era coins so passionately, because they embody the beauty of mistakes, the wonder of chance, and the possibility that within the ordinary lies something extraordinary. And when you consider the journey of this coin, from being struck mistakenly at the mint in 1945, to somehow escaping quality control, to surviving circulation or storage for decades, to finally being discovered and recognized for its uniqueness, it's nothing short of miraculous, and that journey alone adds to its mystique, making its $186 million price tag feel almost justified. Because how do you put a price on something truly unique, something irreplaceable, something that exists only once in the world? And that is what this coin is, a one-of-a-kind artifact of history, art, and chance, and the ripple effect of its discovery will echo for generations as collectors continue to dream of their own finds. So always remember to check your coins, look closely, never assume a penny is worthless, because the story of the 1945 1-cent coin proves that hidden treasures can still be out there, waiting for someone with patience, curiosity, and passion to uncover them. And that is the true magic of coin collecting, the endless hunt, the thrill of discovery, and the possibility that something as small as a penny can change your life forever. And with that, the legacy of the 1945 penny worth $186 million is secure, standing as one of the greatest examples of how history, era, and rarity combine to create unimaginable value, and its story will continue to inspire, amaze, and ignite passion in all who hear it as one of the most unbelievable treasures in the entire history of money. Last 1958 Wheat Penny. Today, as we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, where a single penny that most people would pass over without a second thought can turn out to be worth more than an entire fortune. And today's spotlight is on the legendary 1958 Lincoln Wheat Cent, a coin that has stunned the numismatic community and amazed collectors worldwide because of its extraordinary eras, its incredible story of survival, and its ultimate valuation at a staggering $65 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in history. And what makes this tale so fascinating is the fact that the 1958 penny was minted during a transitional period in U.S. coinage history, being one of the final years of the wheat cent design before the reverse was changed in 1959 to feature the Lincoln Memorial, which means that collectors were already paying attention to this series, but nobody could have predicted that a single example from the Denver Mint would emerge carrying a unique blend of errors and anomalies that make it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So let's explore all the reasons why this coin is so valuable, starting with the minting process itself, because the Denver Mint in the 1950s was producing hundreds of millions of coins each year to keep up with demand, and with such huge numbers being struck, it was inevitable that mistakes would occasionally slip through. But most errors were minor and went unnoticed, yet every so often, the stars aligned to create something spectacular, and the 1958 Wheat Penny in question is one such spectacular error, beginning with what many believe is the most dramatic double die obverse in the entire wheat cent series, where Lincoln's portrait shows striking doubling on his face, especially around the eye and mouth, while the motto "I in God we trust" and the word liberty appear shadowed and duplicated, producing a ghostly effect that is immediately eye-catching. And this type of double die is created when the working die receives more than one impression from the hub but at a slightly shifted angle, resulting in a doubled image that is permanently transferred to every coin struck from that die. And while many doubled dies are minor, this one is bold and dramatic, making it unmistakable even to the untrained eye. And as if that weren't enough, the reverse of the coin also displays a dramatic off-center strike where the wheat stalks curve awkwardly to one side, leaving a crescent of blank planchette. visible yet keeping the words 1 cent and United States of America intact, which adds another level of error rarity. And then metallurgical studies suggest that this coin may have been struck on an experimental planchette, possibly one with an unusual bronze alloy mixture that gives the coin a slightly different tone compared to ordinary 1958 D cents, with some experts claiming traces of higher zinc content or even leftover wire materials mixed into the metal, which could explain the unusual coloration. And when we combine all of these factors together, we get a coin that is virtually impossible to replicate and stands alone in its uniqueness. And that uniqueness is exactly what drives collectors wild. Because in the world of numismatics, rarity plus demand equals astronomical prices. And when a coin has a story this rich, it becomes not just a piece of money but an artifact of history, art, and chance. And so when this penny first surfaced in the marketplace, it caused immediate buzz. Collectors couldn't believe what they were seeing, and grading services were stunned as they carefully examined the coin, confirming its authenticity, documenting every detail of the double die, the off-center strike, the unusual alloy, and encapsulating it as one of the most unique and important Lincoln cents ever discovered. And when it hit the auction block, the bidding war was fierce, with museums, private collectors, and wealthy investors all desperate to secure it for their collections. And the price climbed higher and higher until it eventually reached the unbelievable sum of $65 million, shocking the world and cementing the coin's place in history as one of the most valuable pennies ever sold. And what makes this story even more incredible is that most 1958 D wheat cents are extremely common, with more than 800 million struck, meaning that in general they are worth only face value in circulated condition and maybe a few dollars in mint state grades. So to think that among such an ocean of ordinary coins there exists one extraordinary specimen worth millions is simply mind-blowing. And that is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. The idea that hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. And it's not just about the money, it's about the story. Because when you hold a coin like this, you are holding a time capsule from 1958, a year when Dwight D. Eisenhower was president, the space race was just beginning, and the American Mint was on the verge of changing designs forever. And this penny captures that moment in history while carrying within it the imperfections of its creation, imperfections that turned into ultimate value. And philosophically, this story teaches us something too. That sometimes mistakes are what make things truly extraordinary, because without the double die, the off-center strike, and the unusual planchette, this coin would be just another common penny, but with those so-called flaws it has become a masterpiece. Celebrated by collectors, historians, and dreamers alike, and the ripple effect of its discovery has inspired countless people to dig through old jars of wheat pennies, search rolls from banks, and check their pocket change more carefully, because you never know when you might stumble across the next great rarity, and that sense of possibility keeps the hobby alive, filling it with excitement, hope, and adventure. And what's even more remarkable is the journey this coin must have taken, somehow. Surviving the scrutiny of mint workers, passing through quality control unnoticed, perhaps circulating briefly before being tucked away by someone who noticed its oddities, and then lying dormant for decades before finally being recognized for what it truly was, a one-of-a-kind treasure. And that journey only adds to its mystique, making its $65 million price tag seem almost inevitable once you understand the magnitude of its uniqueness. And today the legend of the 1958 D 1 cent coin continues to grow, retold in articles, videos, and numismatic circles as one of the greatest finds in American coinage, inspiring every collector to keep looking, to never dismiss a coin as worthless, and to always remember that even the smallest piece of change can hold within it the power to change your life forever. And that is the true magic of coin collecting, the endless hunt, the thrill of discovery, and the knowledge that treasures like the 1958 D wheat penny worth $65 million can and do exist, waiting for someone to notice them. And this legendary coin will forever be a shining example of how rarity, history, and error can combine to create unimaginable value. securing its place as one of the most unforgettable stories in the entire history of money.